Hello, world. It's Dr. Ben here. Welcome to another Wisdom Wednesday episode of the Alter Your Health podcast. We're missing our co host, Dr. Susanna, but happy to be with you. And I am a naturopathic doctor. My role is to empower you to heal yourself through, of course, whole food, plant based nutrition, as well as your understanding of your mind and your power that you have in your state of mind. So that's the topic of these Wisdom Wednesday episodes. And if it's your first time tuning in, welcome. Happy to share this time with you, and feel free to leave any comments or feedback that you might have in the comments section of the podcast or review wherever you're watching or listening in from. But today I wanted to cover the topic or talk about the topic of self-improvement. And I hear people talking about self improvement a lot. Of course, it's not a new concept, not a new idea. And I was just kind of reminiscing on the time when I was first introduced to the whole topic of self improvement. And I think I was probably, walking in a bookstore and I saw the self improvement aisle of the bookstore. And I was perusing, and I think I was probably just looking for a title of a book that happened to be in the self-improvement section. And I was like, well, that's kind of interesting. Self-improvement. I don't really, at that point in time, I didn't really feel this yearning to improve myself. But I felt interested in some of the literature and words and titles. And I felt inspired by some of the books that I would find in that section. And maybe you have as well. But fast forward a little bit, and I started to become more aware of this yearning. For sure a yearning that I had, but also a yearning that I kind of tapped into and observed amongst the most of humanity. This yearning to feel better, and it's like so natural and common to desire to feel better, of course, especially when we're not feeling well. It's like you're not feeling well, you want to feel better, and hence the birthing and the explosion, and that still is exploding the whole world of the self-improvement industry. And the fact is that yes, we all want to feel good, all want to be better, look better, feel better, on many levels. And also from the other side of the spectrum, it feels good to help people feel better. So it's just this self-fulfilling big entity that is self-improvement. But if we drop ourselves into that, before too long, we can be kind of spinning our hamster wheels and going nowhere and absorbing and experiencing and reading and taking in a lot of information, but we might not be going anywhere. We might be just kind of in the same place, still wanting to feel better, still wanting to look better, still wanting the changes that we feel like we're lacking. So I think it's helpful to kind of take a pause. And that's not to say that we need to stop consuming stuff and we need to stop reading books and stop feeling inspired by the content that might be in the realm of self improvement. But we can take a pause and ask some questions, ask some really important questions. And I think, these questions are first like, what does it mean to feel better? What am I lacking? Like, what would it look like if I was feeling better? And what is in the way? What is in the way from where I am right now and how I want to be? Is there anything in the way? And I'll share some of the answers that I've come to these kind of deep questions. Um, where do my good feelings come from? When I'm feeling good, where's the source of that? And how can I feel more of that? How can I tap into and experience and live into my full potential? Because I think that's kind of at the heart of it all, is like, feeling better and improving ourselves is really just feeling more of who we are and tapping into our potential. So let's try to answer some of these questions. What does it mean for me to be improved? What does that look like or feel like? Well, the interesting thing to me, and of course I invite you to meditate or ponder the answer to this question for yourself. But for me, what does it mean to feel improved? um, I would say to feel less judgment and to feel less attachment and desire and to feel more equanimity and to feel more peace and to be less influenced by my outer world and more empowered and grounded in my inner world. So what is in the way between me right now and feeling that? Well, this is the important stuff. It's not a lack of anything, and it's not a lack of information. It's not a lack of meditation practice. It's sometimes just a lack of understanding or a forgetting of what's in the way, which is my state of mind or my thoughts and the thoughts that I'm kind of getting wrapped into. And of course, in this is the notion, and I'm kind of walking around it and bouncing around it and beating around the bush here. But the truth is that we already are whole and complete and healthy and wise and peaceful. And we all have that experience of our true nature. Sometimes it's just on the weekends, sometimes it's just a moment at a time. But we have all had the experience of our full potential. So these questions orient us around, like, this desire to be more of who we truly are. And again, that's so natural. Of course, it's natural and completely normal and human to have this desire to feel better. And the thing that is also, I think, very common and just part of the human experience is forgetting or having this tendency to forget where that comes from. And my belief and perspective is that's what life is for. That's what life is for reminding us and for serving as this classroom full of learning opportunities to reconnect with our truth, to remember where our full potential is, and to gain insight into what's between where we are now and our untapped potential. But the other thing about the human experience that makes things a little bit complicated for some, I know it makes it complicated for me, is the expectations that we have for ourselves, the standards that we hold ourselves to. And we look out in the world, and of course there's this tendency to see everyone better than us, to see how we measure up to them. And it's like, oh, we see that person over there, they're at the top of their game, and they appear to be at the top of their game, or they appear to be more advanced or successful than me. They probably did life better, and that's how they got there. But we fail to see the journey or the path of learning, of growth, of insights that are had. And we know we've all had the experience, and of course we intellectually probably trust as well that everyone's learning curve and healing curve and growth curve is not linear. It's all over the place. There's highs and lows and twists and turns. And yet, despite that intellectual understanding, I know for myself at least, there's still this tendency to hold myself to a high standard. Like, I need to get there as soon as possible. I need to go to that level as soon as possible. And again, this whole up leveling, this is, I believe, is an illusion. Like, getting to that level, being more successful, being more creative, being more loving, being more wise, having more of whatever, like fill in the blank, that is only a shift in consciousness. That is only a shift in mindset. And that's not to say that, oh, I got to get in there and find how to shift my consciousness. I got to find how to change the state of mind that I hold. That process, the ebbing and flowing and the shifting of consciousness and the disillusion of thought and the experience of thought and the flow of life is happening and moving through us. And here we are, human beings. We want to be in control. We want to control that process from the top down so that we can feel strong and empowered. But empowerment is knowing our true relationship with life. Empowerment is knowing where life comes from and how life happens through us, and our role in being more of a vessel of experiencing life and observing life and being a witness to life rather than being the creator, the full creator, because we are for sure the creator in the sense of how we can give meaning to thoughts, how we can animate and express ourselves. Um, but at the same time, there's a greater flow of creation that happens through us that we can cooperate with. So, did I answer those questions? How can I experience how I guess the other one, how can I experience my untapped potential? Or no, I've missed one. Where do my good feelings come from? Well, I guess we kind of know at this point. The the good feelings and the bad feelings and all the feelings come from within. They're generated from within. They come from where I am in the moment, in terms of where my state of mind is in the moment, where my attention is. Um, right now, my attention is here and now, present. I've got some thoughts of a little some self-conscious thoughts. Am I articulating myself appropriately? Am I conveying this message? Is this message that I'm sending being adequately received? You know, so that's kind of an insight into my state of mind and feeling in the moment. And not just I'm not trying to change that. I'm not trying to change that. I know that it will change without my effort. How can I experience my untapped potential? Well, this is a good question. And this is where, I always think about the human body and our physiology, how there's this force that heals, there's this self healing force. And oftentimes, when we're talking about healing, when we're talking about supporting that self healing force, the message is to get out of the way, to remove the obstacles. Once again, we're not generally lacking stuff. That's not to say that some nutritional deficiencies might exist, but generally we just need to get out of the way and trust that the body has what it needs to do what it needs, and remove the obstacles, the toxicities, and the stress, and these sort of things. So that's how I would tap into my body's full potential, is to give it what it needs, but nothing more. To give it what it needs and nothing more, and get out of the way. So to tap into my greater being and the full potential that I hold, I would say it's kind of similar to give myself what I need in terms of the nourishment, the space, and then to get out of the way. And I think that this gets a little bit complicated because, again, we live in this physical world reality where we see a bunch of physical stuff happening, and we think that we need to be forceful in the creative process. And that's not to say that things don't create, or that things are created from nothing. Like, of course, we've got to pick up a hammer and a nail and hammer and build a house. The house isn't going to build itself, but the inspiration that moves us into that space and that gives us the momentum and the inspiration and the vision, that is coming from within. That is in essence, we can kind of get out of the way and allow that to come through us, and then be sensitive to that force of inspiration that flows through us so that we can pick up the hammer and find the nails and build the house and manifest our vision. Once again, I think in cooperation with the universe, you know, and that feels good. That feels, to me, that feels a lot better than really trying to power through and force something to happen. It's like, I don't know, back to the house building metaphor. It's like, if you're hammering the nail, but the nail's going sideways or whatever, like sometimes you just gotta pull the nail out and try it again when things are more aligned. And there's an element of being patient. Oh, there's a question from Alter Health. Can you also speak to when we may want to be improved better or when we have higher expectations of others? Can I speak to when we may want others to be improved, or sorry, can I speak to when we may want others to be improved or better or when we have higher expectations of others? Well, this is interesting because, yeah, I think that it's completely natural and a normal part of the human experience, not only to crave and desire our own full potential to be expressed, but to see that potential and that health and that creativity and that wisdom in all life, especially those who we love the most, and to desire for them to come into their own and to think that we can make that happen for them. And of course, we can't. Of course, we can't heal others. We can't fix others. We can't help others be more of who they are. That's their responsibility. So I think that desire for others to be improved or better is generally coming from a place of love. And but the more important thing from my perspective is that we have our desires, we have our expectations, we hold our desires and expectations for ourselves, for others, for work, for relationships, for you name it. We've got our experience and thoughts and judgments and hopes. And then the perceived other, it's like, how are they receiving those hopes, those desires? If I have a child and they're competing in a swimming competition, and I'm standing on the side of the pool cheering them on, yeah, Jimmy, go, 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 swim faster. Like, I'm rooting them on in my love and my passion. And I could be judging Jimmy for not swimming fast enough, and, oh, you got to swim faster, beat the other guy. And Jimmy in the pool, he might hear my voice, and he might feel inspired, like, oh yeah, dad's rooting for me or whatever, and yeah, I can do this. Or he might feel really overwhelmed, like, oh shoot, I suck, man, I'm gonna lose. I can never do as well as dad wants me to. So that's where the human dynamic and relationships tend to get complicated, is because the message sent is not always the message received, because we only have our power and control to send the message. And we, of course, I think, have a responsibility to do our best, whatever that looks like. And I think that we generally, I would say we do always do our best. And sometimes our best is different than other times. Again, depending on our state of mind in the moment. But on the other side of the spectrum, on the other side of the relationship, I should say, is we are interpreting that message and from the best level of thinking and consciousness that we have in the moment. And depending on state of mind, depending on thoughts, depending on stories, depending on programming, depending on past experiences, depending on the present moment, we make up the story and interpret things and create our perception, and then maybe judge ourselves more, maybe judge ourselves less. And it's just a messy situation. That's the nature of human relationships, I believe. So anyway, the illusion of self-improvement, I guess my intention in this conversation around this topic is to gain a little bit of freedom and to loosen up if we've held judgments that we need to be better, that we should be better, we need to do this in order to be better. And rather than trying to be better, we can allow ourselves to be more of who we truly are, which is the best. And of course, that process and that journey is all over the place, up and down and all around. And we can enjoy the process rather than hold ourselves to high standards and expectations, leaving ourselves unfulfilled, feeling like we need to improve ourselves even more. So, yeah, thanks for tuning in as always. And look forward to seeing you next time, hopefully with Dr. Susanna. And I guess no other real announcements. I guess the only announcement is our Peace on Earth program, which happens on a weekly basis, where we hopefully are growing a community of people who want to talk about this sort of stuff and explore and experience more of their true potential. It's not about self-improvement. It's about experiencing more of your true nature. So peace and love. See you next time.